Hey, single girls. I just wanted to get on here really quick and do a little talk on sharing spaces with roommates, right? That can be a super easy thing depending on how much space you have, and it can also be a very hard thing if your space is limited, especially in the kitchen. So I wanted to walk through my current situation, show you what is the setup here, and the things that work really well and the things that I think could work better. So I'm gonna take you guys on a little tour and talk as we go. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to do, let me see if I can flip this around. Oh, I can't. Why is that happening? Well, we're just gonna roll with it. So the first thing I wanted to do is show you the pantry space. So if you can see in here, there's 3 of us living here. It's a hodgepodge of mess. So there is some shelving on one side and the back side on one side and then the back. And then a door of spices and shelving for condiments and spices and all that stuff. So as you can see, as we're looking at the shelving space, we each kind of have our own shelf, and then there's some extra space in the mix there too. Now, here's what works well. It is very nice to have a defined space of what is mine and what is my other roommates, right? So we can know exactly where our things are instead of everyone's stuff being all put together and then not knowing, am I grabbing my flour? Am I grabbing someone else's flour? Whose spices am I using? So on and so forth. One thing that would be helpful in having a space with roommates is to talk through whether or not you are going to share some of the common ingredients or whether you are going to fly solo and just each have your own. So as you can see on the spice rack that is on this door, which is a super awesome organizational tool, but there's a lot of spices, which means we're all flying solo on that. Now, if this was a long-term housing situation for me with long-term roommates, a good idea would be so say if you are moving into a new space with a couple people that are signing a lease all at the same time, it would be really helpful for you guys to all sit down together and say, okay, listen, here's what I have, here's what you have, all 3 of us. Let's utilize our space well and share some of the common things. So share spices, share flour, sugar, some of the basic baking and cooking ingredients. That way, and then set up ahead of time a rotating way to purchase. Okay, so one person is not constantly having to make all the purchases for the ingredients as they run out. So that is a great way to do it. If you are like me and you're going in and out of places, I've been here for 3 months, but I came with all of my own stuff and I've used all of my own stuff and I've kept it separate so that I know where all of my stuff is. Does that make sense? I'm actually moving out in a couple days. And so it is helpful for me and has been helpful for me to know what is mine, where it's at all times. It is not the most efficient use of the space though, but it also depends on your personality and if you're a sharer or not. So if you're not a sharer, just straight up own it. Tell your roommates that and say, I would prefer that you ask before you use my stuff, or try to work on some of that vulnerability of sharing some of your things. But setting ground rules is key. Setting ground rules on what you guys are going to share, how you guys are going to replace items, and who is going to be responsible for who. Who's going to be responsible for what. So the next thing I wanted to show you is the fridge space. So you'll see, here's the freezer. And again, normal doors. We all have a bin in here. Now, what is helpful about that is that, again, we know what is our stuff and where it's at. What is not helpful is not having conversations about what other spaces can I use. So I have kept all of my stuff into the one bin assigned to me, but there is other space that we can utilize better. I'm just not around long enough to have those conversations. But again, if you're just moving into a new place with new roommates, have those conversations up front. How do you want to utilize the freezer? Do you want to share the space? Do you want to write your names on some of the items so that you know what is yours and what's not yours? That's also a great method to do it. If you guys are sharing, especially like the top loader, top you know, like fridges like that have, there's not like specific shelf spaces that you can each have a shelf. So the bins are a great idea, but again, there's a lot of space that's not being utilized because of the bins taking up some space. So just have that conversation with your roommates. Okay, last but not least, the fridge. Again, when I first moved in, I was given a shelf, okay? I'm gonna bend down here. You can see it's kind of a hodgepodge, okay? But then there's all of these shelves, there's drawers, and every shelf is a different size, right? Okay, so you can see all that. So I am a big fan of fairness. So in the interest of fairness, again, having a conversation with your roommates, whether you're moving into a new space with roommates at the same time, or whether you're moving into a space where people are already established, just having a conversation with your roommates about, hey, you know, this is the space that you guys are giving me, but what else can I use? My shelf isn't as big as some of these other shelves. You guys are using drawers. Can I have a drawer? Just so that you can, A, feel comfortable in your own space. B, don't feel like you're being shortchanged. Also, don't shortchange someone else. And then, you know, again, just be smart about what you're purchasing, making sure that you're using up, you know, what we've talked about before. If you go and buy bulk lettuce at Costco, plan your meals accordingly so that you can use up the lettuce in a timely manner so that you can then create more space for other items. So don't go crazy and buy, you know, hundreds of dollars worth of groceries at one time, just simply because you don't have the space for it. So be wise about what you're purchasing and thinking about space as well as being budget conscious. So here's the other thing. When you move into a space with roommates, it is crucial to have conversations up front, especially when it comes to the kitchen, about cleanliness, about cleaning schedules, about, you know, what tools you can all share, what, like how people clean up, all of those things. I have found in my multiple years of living with roommates that is one of the biggest sources of frustration, at least for me, is when expectations are not clearly defined, and even when they are defined or when they have been talked about, not living into those expectations. So have a conversation. It's always an awkward one. Do it anyways. You can do it. I believe in you. But as single girls, first of all, you know, it's great to live with roommates, but it can also present a lot of challenges. So the key is to figure out how to learn how to communicate efficiently and effectively in those situations, to ask for what you need and want, and then to also just utilize your space in a really well thought out manner. That will bring a lot of peace to your heart, at least it does to mine, when you don't feel like everything is crazy and chaotic. It's organized, it fits well, it's not too much, and yeah. Anyways, you guys listen. Doesn't matter how big the size of your pantry is or your kitchen or your fridge, we just gotta be smart about what we're putting in it. All right, much love, friend. If a single girl's gotta eat, which we all gotta do, we might as well be a little organized. We might as well just be able to fill our space in a really thoughtful manner. That's it. All right, much love. Bye.